She's so pathetic! This is gonna be so funny.
What's she doing now?
Still standing there.
Just ignore her.
When a blind black girl named Amara is cruelly bullied at school, mocked, filmed, and humiliated by classmates while teachers look the other way, her quiet suffering explodes into a storm when her father, Marcus Hayes, a retired Navy SEAL, discovers the abuse. Each chapter reveals the layers of systemic racism, betrayal, and silence that allowed the cruelty to grow unchecked. From Amara's isolation and broken cane, to classmates whispering, to the viral video that exposes the bullies, to Marcus gathering evidence with the precision of a soldier. His confrontation at school forces the abusers to publicly confess, while the community, once complicit in silence, is shaken into awareness. The bullies face poetic justice as their reputations crumble under the same spotlight they once used to mock her. The negligent principle is removed, and Amara transforms from victim to leader, founding the Anchor Club to ensure no voice is silenced again. What began as a story of pain ends as a powerful testament to justice, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a father and daughter. The sound of sneakers squeaked on polished linoleum floors. Amara Johnson gripped her white cane, tapping lightly in front of her as she walked. Her other hand brushed the strap of her backpack against her shoulder. She could feel the weight of stares, not just curiosity, but something sharper. Whispers trailed behind her. Is she blind? Wise? She even here? She's already lost, isn't she? Amara's chin stayed high. Her blank brown eyes, clouded by blindness since birth, faced forward. She'd learned long ago that even though she couldn't see them, they saw her, and sometimes what they saw was enough to turn cruel. She followed the faint echo of lockers slamming shut, gauging her way. A mocking voice cut through the hallway noise. Well, look at this. The new girl brought her little stick. Laughter followed. Amara froze. The voice was female, sharp, dripping with entitlement. Kelsey, someone whispered nearby. Amara turned her face toward the sound. Calm. My cane helps me walk. Is that funny to you? Kelsey's voice came closer, boots clicking. Funny. Oh no. It's hilarious, watching you poke the floor like a lost puppy. Classic snickers rose around her. Amara's grip tightened on the cane. I'm not lost, she said softly. I know where I'm going. Kelsey scoffed. Sure you do. Hey, maybe next time we'll draw a maze for you. Blind Girl Edition. The laughter stung not because of the words, but because no adult voice cut through to stop it. From the corner, a teacher's voice finally came. Girls, keep moving. Don't block the hallway. Not a word of correction. Not a word of protection. Just dismissal. Kelsey chuckled. See, even teachers don't care. You're on your own here, blind girl. The footsteps retreated, laughter trailing after them. Amara breathed in deeply, forcing her shoulders to stay steady. Inside, though, her chest ached. Later, in her homeroom, Amara sat quietly. The teacher handed out worksheets. A student muttered, like she can even read it. Another voice whispered back, probably got some special treatment. Amara lifted her chin. I use Braille and audio files. I'll manage, thanks. Her voice was calm, but the silence afterward told her she'd unsettled them. The teacher ignored the exchange, moving on. Amara sat with the weight of silence pressing in the silence of complicity. When the bell rang, Amara found herself again in the crowded hallway. Someone bumped her shoulder deliberately. Oops, didn't see you there, a boy sneered. Amara steadied herself with her cane. She wanted to say something sharp, but the words tangled in her throat. That her father's voice echoed in memory. Strength isn't always about fighting back. Sometimes it's about standing tall when the world tries to make you bend. So she stood tall, gripping the cane, and walked on. Behind her, the laughter still followed, but so did the silence of those too afraid to speak. The smell of chalk dust lingered in the air as students shuffled into Mrs. Dwyer's English class. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead, casting a sterile glow over rows of desks. Amara tapped her cane softly, counting the steps until she reached the second row where the teacher had promised her a seat. She could sense the pause in the room, the way conversations dipped when she entered. From behind her, a whisper floated. Front row, huh? Special treatment. Another voice snickered. Bet she can't even find her chair without help. Amara ignored them, finding her desk by touch. Her fingers brushed the cool surface before she sat down. She folded her cane neatly and placed it by her feet. Mrs. Dwyer clapped her hands. All right, class. Today, we're discussing To Kill a Mockingbird. Let's start with some opening thoughts. Who remembers the central theme? A few hands shot up. Voices overlapped. Justice, racism, boring old book. Mrs. Dwyer smiled thinly. Good. Now, let's see. Amara, would you like to start? A hush fell. Someone whispered loudly enough for all to hear. She probably didn't even read it. Amara lifted her chin. Her voice was steady. I did read it. Well, listened to it. The theme is about confronting prejudice, even when the truth makes people uncomfortable. Atticus Finch says real courage is fighting a battle you know you can't win, but fighting anyway. The silence that followed was heavy. Then, from the back, a sharp laugh cut through. Oh wow, blind girl quoting Atticus Finch like she's got it all figured out. It was Kelsey. Of course. Mrs. Dwyer glanced up briefly, her lips pressing into a line, but she said nothing. Kelsey leaned forward in her seat. Tell me, Amara, how do you even know what courage is? You can't even walk without that stick. Snickers erupted around the room. Amara's hands tightened into fists under her desk. I know what courage is, she said softly, because I live it every day. Her voice cracked slightly at the edges but carried. The laughter faltered for a moment, but Kelsey recovered quickly. Wow, so deep. You should totally write a book. Adventures of the Blind Girl Who Trips Over Desks. The classroom exploded with laughter. Even some kids who had been silent before couldn't resist. Amara sat still, her face neutral, but her ears burned. Across the room, Sophie, one of the quieter girls, leaned toward her friend and whispered, She's actually kind of brave. Her friend shook her head quickly. Don't say that too loud. Kelsey will come for you next. Mrs. Dwyer cleared her throat. All right, enough chatter. Let's stay on topic. Who else wants to add? But her voice was flat, detached, no reprimand, no defense, just a desperate move to shift away from discomfort. Amara could hear it for what it was. Silence disguised as order. After class, as students packed their things, Amara moved carefully toward the door. Kelsey's voice trailed after her. Hey, maybe next time you can read us a bedtime story with your, audiobook. You probably listen on like easy mode. Her friends laughed, chiming in, yeah, maybe the book reads her. Bet she skips the hard words. Amara stopped at the door. She turned slightly toward them, her blank eyes leveled with their direction. I don't need eyes to see people for who they really are, she said quietly. The hallway hushed for a beat, then Kelsey scoffed, breaking the silence. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, blind girl. The laughter picked back up as Amara walked away. Later, at her locker, Sophie approached hesitantly. Hey, Amara, I just wanted to say, that was brave, what you said back there. Amara tilted her head slightly. Thanks, Sophie fidgeted, lowering her voice. I mean, I wanted to speak up, but well, you know how Kelsey is. She ruins people. Amara's lips tightened. So you stay quiet? Sophie flushed. I'm sorry, it's easier. Amara turned toward the sound of her footsteps retreating, her expression unreadable. Inside, though she felt the weight of the betrayal, silence wasn't neutral. Silence was a choice. That night, as she lay in bed, Amara replayed the classroom laughter in her mind. Her father's voice echoed again, steady, unwavering. People will test you, Amara, some because they're cruel, some because they're weak, but don't ever let them tell you who you are. You're stronger than that. Her throat tightened. She whispered into the darkness, I hope you're right, Dad. The house was quiet. The only sound was the faint hum of the city outside her window, but the sting of laughter lingered, sharper than silence. The cafeteria was alive with clattering trays, chatter, and the occasional shriek of laughter. The smell of greasy pizza and overcooked broccoli hung heavy in the air. Amara tapped her cane softly, counting her steps. She followed the faint echo of voices, the vibrations of feet scuffing tiles. Each sound was her compass. A whisper floated from a nearby table. There she is. Blind girl, lunch edition. She ignored it, moving to the line. The lunch lady's voice greeted her with unusual warmth. Got you, sweetheart. Mac and cheese, right? Amara smiled faintly. Yes, thank you. The tray was placed carefully into her hands. She turned, cane tapping ahead, searching for a seat. That's when she heard Kelsey's voice, loud and mocking. Careful, guys, don't trip her. She might sue for disability rights or something. Laughter erupted. Amara kept walking, jaw tight. She focused on counting the steps. 1, 2, 3. Her tray suddenly vanished. Gasps and snickers filled the air. Someone had yanked it from her hands. Amara's arms froze in the empty air, still outstretched. Her ears caught the clink of a tray being slid across a table, then pulled back. Voices laughed louder. Where'd it go, Amara? Can't you see it? Amara's face flushed. She lowered her hands slowly, clutching her cane. Her voice stayed calm, but carried. Give it back. Kelsey's syrupy voice floated over. Come and get it. Oh, wait, you can't. Her friends howled with laughter. Someone added, hey, maybe it'll walk to her if she claps loud enough. Amara's hands trembled, but she steadied them on the cane. She would not give them her tears. From a nearby corner, the janitor, Mr. Ruiz, raised his voice. Enough. Hand it over. Kelsey laughed, tossing the tray onto a table with a loud clang. Relax. We were just having fun. No harm done. But the tray had tipped mac and cheese and milk carton, spilling onto the floor. Amara turned her head toward the sound, listening to the laughter ripple across the cafeteria. Her voice cut through it. You think it's funny to take from someone who can't see. That doesn't make you strong. It makes you weak. The cafeteria hushed for a second. Then Kelsey snapped her fingers. Come on, girls. Let's leave her with the mess. Their heels clicked as they strutted away, laughter trailing behind them. Mr. Ruiz was already kneeling, wiping up the spill. Don't you worry, Mia. I'll get you another tray. Amara shook her head. No, it's fine. Her voice trembled despite her efforts. The janitor's tone softened. They laugh because they're empty inside. Don't let them take your dignity too. Amara swallowed hard, nodding faintly. Thank you. At a nearby table, two boys whispered. That was messed up. Yeah, but you gonna say anything? The other shook his head. Not against Kelsey. I'm not getting ruined. Their silence was louder than their words. Amara sat finally with a fresh tray. Mr. Ruiz had brought. Her hands moved carefully, finding the fork, the carton. She ate in quiet, tuning out the laughter that still drifted across the room. Every bite felt heavy, not from the food, but from the weight of eyes, watching her, judging her. As the lunch bell rang, Amara stood. She tapped her cane against the floor, moving toward the exit. Kelsey's voice followed like a shadow. See you around, blind girl. Try not to spill anything else. The laughter trailed after, echoing in her ears as she walked out. That night, Amara sat at the dinner table with her father. He asked, School okay today? Her fork hesitated over her plate. Fine, she lied softly. Marcus studied her, his eyes narrowing. But he didn't press. He knew the battlefield wasn't always one of guns and enemies. It was sometimes silence across a kitchen table. Inside, Amara's chest ached with the weight of holding it in. As she lay in bed later, she whispered into the darkness again. I won't break. I won't give them that. But the sting of spilled milk and laughter clung to her like smoke. The hallway between classes buzzed with footsteps, lockers slamming, and voices bouncing off the walls. For most kids, it was just noise. For Amara, it was a mappage vibration, a marker guiding her way. She kept her chin up as she tapped her cane, ignoring the murmurs that rose when she passed. Blind girl's back. Bet she got lost on the way to math. Careful, she might crash into you. Amara's lips pressed together. She moved forward with steady steps, refusing to give them her stumble. Suddenly, a body blocked her path. She stopped, cane tapping against shoes. Well, Kelsey's voice drawled. Look who thinks she owns the hallway. Her friends giggled, closing in. Amara straightened. Move. Kelsey feigned shock. Ew. Commanding. What are you gonna do if we don't? Call your mommy. Laughter rippled. Amara's jaw clenched. My father, she said quietly, taught me not to be afraid of people like you. That caught Kelsey off guard. Oh, Daddy's giving life lessons now. What is he? Some preacher? Amara tilted her head slightly, her voice calm. No, stronger than that. Kelsey laughed. Stronger, please. Bet he's some janitor or bus driver. No wonder you ended up here. Her friends chimed in, piling on. Probably doesn't even have a job. Explains the charity case. Amara said nothing. Silence could cut sharper than words. But nearby, another group of students whispered among themselves. Did you hear? Her dad's in the military. No way. Yeah, I heard he's some kind of soldier. Bet that's just a story. Look at her. If her dad was tough, no one would mess with her. The rumor spread like sparks on dry grass. Kelsey leaned closer, her perfume sharp. Whatever your daddy is, he can't save you here. Her finger jabbed Amara's shoulder, hard enough to make her stumble back a step. Amara steadied herself with her cane. Her voice, though quiet, didn't waver. I don't need saving. Kelsey smirked. Big words from someone who can't even see me. Her friends burst into cruel laughter. A boy nearby muttered, "This is messed up," but he didn't intervene. His eyes dropped when Kelsey glanced his way. The crowd dispersed when the bell rang. Kelsey strutted off, her voice loud enough to echo. Blind girl's daddy can't protect her from reality. Her laughter carried down the hall. Amara walked on, her grip white-knuckled on her cane. Her heart pounded, but she forced her steps steady. Inside, though, her father's words replayed in her mind. Courage isn't about noise, Amara. It's about standing when the ground shakes. She whispered under her breath, "I'm standing, Dad. I'm trying." Later, at home, the sound of dishes clinking filled the kitchen. Marcus Johnson set 2 plates of food on the table. His broad shoulders and weathered hands carried quiet strength. "How was school?" he asked, watching her carefully. Amara hesitated. "Fine." He studied her face. Her silence spoke louder than her words, but he didn't push. Instead, he said gently, "You know, when I was overseas, the enemy tried to break us with fear. The trick was never letting them know they got to you." Amara's fork paused mid-air. "You didn't let them." Marcus's gaze softened. "Neither will you." Amara forced a small smile, but inside, she wondered how long she could keep carrying it alone. The next morning, whispers floated again in the halls. "Her dad's in the Navy. I heard." "Nah, that's just talk." "What if it's true?" "Doesn't matter. Kelsey runs this place, not her dad." The rumors were growing, but still, no one knew the truth. And Kelsey, she wasn't done yet. That afternoon, as the final bell rang, Kelsey and her crew waited by the stairwell. When Amara approached, Kelsey stepped forward. "Well, Daddy's girl, you gonna tell us what big hero job he's got? Or are you too scared?" Amara gripped her cane tightly. "I don't have to tell you anything." Kelsey shoved her shoulder again. Wrong answer. The stairwell loomed behind Amara. She steadied her footing, her breath sharp, her voice cut through the laughter. "You should be careful." Kelsey blinked, taken aback. "Careful of you?" "No," Amara said softly, "of what you don't know." The words lingered like smoke, unsettling, even Kelsey for a beat. But then she sneered, brushing it off. "Yeah, whatever. You're nothing, blind girl." As Kelsey walked away, her friends trailing behind, the whispers in the hallway grew louder. "Maybe her dad really is something." She sounded serious. "Still, she's all alone." Amara walked on, head high, heart heavy. She hadn't told them the truth, but one day, they would learn. And when they did, the game would change. The school library was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional shuffle of pages. Amara sat at a corner table, fingers brushing across a braille book. The steady rhythm of raised dots grounded her. Across from her, Sophie leaned on her elbows. "You're amazing, you know that. The way you just keep going. If I were you, I'd have quit school already." Amara smiled faintly. "I don't really have a choice. Quitting isn't in me." Sophie giggled softly. "Yeah, you're stronger than the rest of us." Amara tilted her head. "Then why don't you ever say anything?" When they laughed, the question hung heavy. Sophie shifted uncomfortably. I don't want to make things worse. You know how Kelsey is." Amara's lips pressed together. Silence feels worse than their words sometimes. Sophie fell quiet. For a moment, Amara thought she might finally understand. The next day in the hallway, Sophie slipped her arm through Amara's. "Hey, I'll walk with you to class today. You don't have to go alone." Amara's chest lightened just a little. Maybe she wasn't completely alone. But what Amara didn't know was Sophie's phone sat recording in her other hand, camera trained on every step by lunch. The video was everywhere. Amara walking slowly down the hall, cane tapping, Sophie's giggles layered over it. Then came the cruel captions added before it spread. "Lost puppy on parade." "Blind girl special feature." The laughter it triggered was instant. "Ruthless." In the cafeteria, Amara could hear phones buzzing, the muffled chuckles, the sudden silence when she passed by at one table. Someone whispered too loudly, "Yo, did you see it? Sophie's video is blowing up." Another snorted, "Funniest thing I've seen all week." Amara's stomach tightened. Her cane tapped forward, but her steps felt heavier than ever. She sat down alone, tray untouched. Around her, whispers darted like knives. Kelsey's voice rose over the din. "Nice feature film, Amara. You're basically famous now." Her friends cackled. Amara kept her eyes forward. Her voice was calm, but thin. "Who filmed it?" Silence for a second. Then Sophie's voice came, forced and shaky. "I didn't mean for it to get out." Amara turned her head toward her. "You filmed me." Sophie's words tumbled. "It was just a joke. I didn't think it would spread like that." Amara's chest ached, her breath sharp. You laughed with them. Sophie's face reddened. I didn't want them to think I was soft. Amara's voice cracked, but she held it steady. So, you chose them. The cafeteria had gone still, every word carried. Sophie's eyes darted to the floor. I'm sorry. Amara stood, cane in hand. No, you're not. You're scared. The silence that followed was deafening. That evening, at home, Marcus noticed her uneaten food. Amara, talk to me. What happened today? She shook her head. Nothing. His gaze sharpened. You've been quiet for days. I know that you're carrying something. Amara forced a smile, though her lips trembled. I can handle it, Dad. Marcus leaned back, studying her. His instincts told him she was lying, but he respected her silence for now. Still, as he cleared the dishes, his jaw was set. Someone was hurting his daughter, and he would find out who. That night, Amara lay curled under her blanket, phone buzzing on her nightstand. Each notification was another cruel comment. Blind girl trending. Somebody get her a leash. Bet she walks into walls at home too. Her chest tightened with every word. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks. For the first time since school began, Amara let herself cry. The next morning, she walked into the building with her chin high. The whispers were louder now, but her silence was sharper. A boy muttered as she passed. Man, she's still showing up after that. Respect, but his voice was low, hidden. No one dared say it aloud. Dot and Sophie. She couldn't even meet Amara's face. That day, Amara learned something cruel but true. Betrayal didn't always come from your enemies. Sometimes, it came from the people who smiled beside you, then laughed behind your back, and it cut deeper than any joke Kelsey had ever made. The final bell echoed through the halls, followed by the usual chaos of slamming lockers and rushing footsteps. Amara tapped her cane carefully along the floor, trying to avoid the stampede of students, but she could hear the voices already. There she is, blind girls on the move. Should we? Kelsey's sharp laugh cut through. Oh, definitely. Let's give her a little adventure. Amara froze. Her grip tightened on her cane. Don't, she said quietly. Kelsey's voice came closer. What? We're just helping you get some exercise. A sudden shove knocked Amara off balance. Her cane clattered against the lockers. Gasps rippled down the hallway. Amara's feet scraped against the smooth floor right near the top of the stairwell. Her heart thundered. Push her, someone whispered, half laughing, half horrified. Amara's breath hitched. She steadied herself with shaking hands, her cane scraping the ground until she found the wall. Stop, she said, louder now, voice trembling but firm. Kelsey's tone dripped with mock innocence. Oh, relax. We're not really gonna let you fall, unless you beg. Laughter exploded. Amara's chest tightened. I don't beg. The crowd hushed for a moment. Kelsey's smirk faltered, but before she could snap back, a deeper voice cut through the noise. What's going on here? The hallway fell silent. At the far end stood Marcus Johnson. His broad frame filled the corridor, his sharp eyes taking in the scene. He had come early to surprise his daughter only to stumble onto this. The tension was instant. Students shifted uneasily. Kelsey forced a laugh. Oh, nothing, sir. Joking around. Marcus's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Jokes don't usually leave someone at the edge of a staircase. Amara's head snapped toward the voice. Relief flooded her chest. Dad, Marcus was already moving forward, steady and controlled, like a predator crossing the ground. He reached her side, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. You all right, baby girl? Amara swallowed hard. Yeah, I'm fine. But Marcus could feel her trembling beneath his palm. Kelsey tossed her hair, trying to recover control. She's fine. We didn't touch her. Marcus's gaze locked on her, unblinking. You're lying. The words were so calm, so certain, that Kelsey actually took a step back. One of her friends muttered, let's just go. But Kelsey forced a laugh. Whatever. We were just playing. She turned sharply, strutting down the hall. The others followed quickly, their laughter hollow now. Marcus crouched slightly to face Amara. Did they push you? Amara hesitated. Her throat tightened. She wanted to say no, to spare him the rage she felt pulsing under his steady presence. But her silence spoke louder. Marcus's jaw clenched. His voice lowered. You don't have to tell me. I saw enough. Amara's hand found his. Don't make it worse, Dad. Marcus's gaze softened at her touch. He gave a slow nod. I won't. Not here, not now. But in his chest, fire burned. As they walked out of the building together, whispers followed. Did you see him? That's her dad. He looked like he could kill someone with his eyes. Kelsey's bravado had cracked. For the first time, fear threaded through the student body. In the parking lot, Marcus opened the passenger door for Amara. She climbed in silently once inside the car. She finally let her voice tremble. They were going to push me down the stairs. Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. His knuckles whitened. I know, he said softly. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. They laugh. They record me. And no one stops them. Even teachers. Just look away. Her words broke into sobs she had held in 4 weeks. Marcus reached over, pulling her into his arms. His voice was low, steady. Let it out. You don't have to hold it in with me. Amara buried her face against his chest. For once, she didn't try to be strong. When her sobs quieted, Marcus kissed her forehead. You listen to me, Amara. You're not weak. You're stronger than all of them put together. Her voice was muffled. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you care, Marcus whispered. And caring in a cruel world takes more courage than hate ever will. Amara clung to him, her tears soaking into his shirt. That night, long after Amara had fallen asleep, Marcus sat alone in the living room. His mind replayed the scene over and over, the shove, the laughter, the edge of the staircase. His breathing slowed, steady and controlled, just as it had in countless missions overseas. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was worse. This was his daughter. And Marcus Johnson was not a man who let enemies walk free. The next morning, Marcus walked into the high school with the calm precision of a soldier entering hostile territory. His broad shoulders filled the office doorway, his presence commanding silence. The secretary glanced up nervously. Can I help you, sir? Marcus's voice was even. I need to see the principal now. Something in his tone brooked no delay. She picked up the phone without another word. Inside the principal's office, Mr. Bennett shifted uncomfortably in his chair as Marcus entered. Mr. Johnson, Bennett began, forced smile stretching across his face. Please, have a seat. Marcus remained standing. My daughter was nearly shoved down a stairwell yesterday. Bennett's smile faltered. Yes, I heard there was an incident, but the staff assured me. Staff? Marcus's eyes narrowed. Where were they when she was about to fall? Bennett cleared his throat. Well, these things happen quickly. Teenagers don't always. Marcus cut him off, voice sharp. Teenagers don't conspire to humiliate a blind girl for months without someone noticing. Don't tell me this is sudden. The principal adjusted his tie, sweat beading at his temple. Mr. Johnson, I understand your frustration, but calling it a conspiracy might be an exaggeration. Marcus leaned forward, bracing his hands on the desk. Do you know what it's like to stand in a hallway and hear children chant for your daughter to fall? Do you know what it's like to see her shaking, tears in her eyes, because she's been tortured under your watch? Bennett swallowed hard. I'm sure the girls didn't mean real harm. They meant it, Marcus snapped. They recorded it. They laughed. They pushed. Don't you dare downplay it. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Bennett sighed, his shoulders slumping. I can speak to the students, perhaps assign detention. Marcus's eyes were cold steel. Detention, yes. Well, procedures must be followed. We can't take drastic disciplinary action without substantial proof. Marcus straightened slowly, his voice lowering to a dangerous calm. You're telling me you'd rather protect the reputation of bullies than the life of a blind black girl? Bennett opened his mouth, but no sound came. Marcus leaned closer. I was a Navy SEAL. I've spent my life facing enemies who hide behind excuses. Don't think for a second I can't see through yours. The door creaked open. Mrs. Green, Amara's history teacher, peeked in. She froze at the sight of Marcus looming over the principal. Mr. Johnson, she said cautiously, maybe I can help explain. Marcus turned his gaze on her. Were you there when my daughter was shelved? Mrs. Green hesitated. I saw part of it, but I didn't think they would actually. You didn't think, Marcus said flatly. And you didn't act. Do you know how close she came to breaking her neck? Mrs. Green's lips parted, but no defense came. Her silence was its own confession. Marcus finally stepped back, exhaling slowly. I'm not here for excuses. I'm here for change, and if I don't get it, I'll take this higher. School board, media, lawyers, whatever it takes. His voice dropped lower. You want quiet. Protect my daughter, or the whole city will know you failed her. Neither Bennett nor Green spoke as Marcus turned and walked out. At home that evening, Amara sat at the table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Dad, she said softly. Yes, baby girl. You went to the school today? Marcus hesitated, then nodded. I did. Her lips trembled. What did you say? I told them the truth, Marcus replied simply. Amara's voice wavered. I don't want more attention. They'll hate me even more. They'll find new ways to make me pay. Marcus sat beside her, taking her hands in his. They already hate because they're weak. They already hurt you because they're cowards. Staying silent won't make it stop. Tears gathered in Amara's eyes. But what if it gets worse? Marcus brushed a tear from her cheek. Then, I'll be there. Every step, every time. You won't fight alone again. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Amara whispered, sometimes, I wish I wasn't me, that I wasn't blind, that I wasn't. Marcus's grip tightened. His voice was fierce, but not unkind. Don't you ever say that. You are not broken. You are not less. You are the strongest person I know. Her lips quivered. Stronger than you. Marcus gave a small smile. Way stronger. I had training you. You walk into that school every day without sight, without allies, and you still hold your head up. That's real courage. Amara let out a shaky laugh through her tears. Later that night, Marcus sat at the kitchen table, laptop open. News articles about systemic racism in schools filled the screen. He clicked through legal resources, school board policies, and parent advocacy groups. This wasn't just about Amara anymore. This was about every student silenced by cowardice, every teacher who looked away, every administrator who valued quiet over justice. His phone buzzed. A message from a former SEAL teammate flashed on the screen. Still got your back, brother. Whatever you need. Marcus stared at the words for a long moment. His jaw set. He whispered into the quiet room. They wanted war. They'd just picked the wrong father. The next week at school, whispers rippled down the halls. Word had spread. Amara's father wasn't just intimidating. He was dangerous. Some students avoided her. Others stared, curious, but a few still sneered, whispering cruel jokes when they thought she couldn't hear. Amara kept her head high, cane tapping steadily, but inside, she carried the same weight, the fear that they would strike again. Marcus, however, had shifted gears. That evening, he sat in the living room with his laptop. On the coffee table lay a small black device, a discreet audio recorder. Next to it, his phone buzzed with messages from parents and veterans alike. One of the texts read, my daughter faced the same thing. I'll testify. Another, heard about what happened. Want me to pull some favors at the district office. Marcus exhaled slowly. The network was forming. That Amara's voice came from the hallway. He looked up. She stood hesitantly, fingers tightening around her cane. Yeah, baby girl. She bit her lip. I overheard them today. Kelsey and her friends. They said they're planning something. They said next time, even you won't be able to save me. Marcus's jaw tightened. Did anyone else hear? Amara shook her head. No, just me. Marcus's voice, steadied. Calm as a drawn blade. Then we'll catch them. This time, we'll have proof. The following morning, Amara walked into school with the recorder clipped discreetly inside her jacket pocket. Her heart pounded with every step. But Marcus's words replayed in her head. You won't fight alone again. It didn't take long. Kelsey's voice sliced through the chatter in the hallway. Well, look who's here. Daddy's little blind princess. Her friends laughed, but the tone was thinner now, edged with unease. Amara held her ground. Leave me alone, Kelsey smirked. Or what? Gonna cry to your daddy again? You think he scares us? He can't watch you forever. The recorder caught every word. At lunch, Amara sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, pretending to eat. Kelsey's group passed by, their voices low but cruel. Next time, it won't just be stares. Yeah, we'll make sure she remembers who's in charge. Blind freak doesn't belong here. Amara's hands trembled under the table, but she kept her face steady. The recorder blinked silently inside her pocket. That night, Marcus listened to the playback. The venom in the girls' voices twisted his gut, but his lips curved into the faintest of grim smiles. They just gave us the rope they'll hang themselves with, he murmured. 2 days later, Marcus requested another meeting with Principal Bennett. This time, he didn't come alone. Beside him stood Mrs. Alvarez, a local journalist known for exposing corruption. Bennett paled when he saw her. Mr. Johnson, I wasn't expecting. Marcus set the recorder on the desk and pressed play. The voices filled the room, cruel, unmistakable. By the time it ended, Bennett's hands were trembling. This is very serious, but perhaps we can handle it quietly. Quietly. Mrs. Alvarez's pen scratched across her notebook. You mean bury it? Like the last 3 bullying complaints the school ignored. Bennett froze. I don't know what you're implying. You know exactly, Marcus cut in, voice low and lethal. And now I have proof. That afternoon, the girls were called into the office. Kelsey sauntered in with false bravado, but the moment the recorder clicked on again and her own words spilled into the air, her face drained of color. Her friends shifted nervously, muttering excuses. It was just a joke. We didn't mean it like that. Everyone teases her. Marcus's gaze cut through them like a blade. You planned to hurt my daughter. You laughed about it. You called her less than human. That's not a joke. That's hate. Kelsey snapped back, voice cracking. She thinks she's better than us. Always walking around like what? Marcus's tone was calm but sharp. Like she belongs. Because she does. More than you. If cruelty's all you have to offer. Kelsey's lips trembled, but no words came. The fallout spread fast. Parents called the school, demanding answers. Mrs. Alvarez's article hit the local paper the next morning. Blind black student targeted. School fails to act until Navy SEAL father intervenes. The headline burned across town. Teachers whispered in the hallways. Students watched Amara differently. Some with pity, some with newfound respect. But the tide had turned. At home, Amara sat on the couch, listening as her father read parts of the article aloud. They actually published it, she asked softly, but Marcus nodded. They did, and this is only the beginning. Amara's fingers twisted in her lap. But now everyone will know. They'll hate me even more. Marcus cupped her face gently. Or they'll fear you. Fear the truth. Fear what happens when you stop being silent. Amara's throat tightened. I don't want fear. I just want to be left alone. Marcus's voice softened. I know, but sometimes, baby girl, justice makes noise before it brings peace. Later that night, Marcus stood outside on the porch, phone to his ear. Yeah, he said quietly, the story's out, the school's cornered, but it's not enough. I want this airtight, no loopholes, no escape. The voice on the other end, his old teammate, replied firmly. Then we go bigger. Cameras, witnesses, build a case they can't bury. Marcus's jaw tightened. Exactly. This doesn't end until every one of them, the bullies, the teachers who turned away, the administrators who covered it up, are exposed. He hung up, the night air cold against his skin. For the first time in weeks, a grim satisfaction settled in his chest. This was no longer survival. This was war. The school auditorium buzzed with restless voices. Parents, teachers, and students filled the seats, called to an emergency assembly after the media storm. The principal, Bennett, stood stiffly at the podium, papers trembling in his hand. He cleared his throat. We're here today to address recent concerns. The crowd murmured. From the second row. Marcus sat tall, arms crossed, Amara at his side. She leaned slightly toward him, whispering, Why are we here, Dad? His voice was low but steady. Because it's time the truth comes out. Bennett forced a smile. We take all allegations seriously. However, I want to assure the community that the matter is being handled appropriately. A sharp voice interrupted. Mrs. Alvarez, the journalist, stood near the aisle. Handled, or buried, like every other bullying report you ignored. Gasps rippled through the audience. Cameras flashed from local news crews. Bennett stammered, That's not true. Marcus rose, his presence silencing the room. Play it, he said. Mrs. Alvarez nodded and pressed a button on her recorder. The auditorium filled with the unmistakable voices of Kelsey and her friends. Next time, it won't just be stares. Blind freak doesn't belong here. She thinks her daddy can save her. He can't watch forever. The words echoed against the walls. Every parent's face twisting in horror. Kelsey, sitting with her parents, went pale. Her mother hissed, What is this? Her father's jaw tightened. Kelsey, tell me you didn't. Kelsey shook her head frantically. They twisted it. It was a joke. The crowd erupted in anger. A joke. She could have died. This is disgusting. Bennett raised his hands helplessly. Please, let's all calm down. Marcus's voice thundered over him. No, enough calm. You let this happen under your watch. You allowed my daughter to be hunted in your hallways while teachers stood by. And now the whole world sees what you tried to ignore. The room went silent. All eyes fixed on Marcus. His voice dropped, sharp as a blade. This isn't just about my daughter. This is about every child you've failed. Every parent who trusted you. And today, the lies stop. The cameras zoomed in. Bennett's face gleamed with sweat. One parent stood and shouted, My son was bullied too. You ignored my complaints. Another joined in. My daughter reported harassment and nothing was done. Voices rose, one after another, a chorus of betrayal. Bennett's mask crumbled. His words tumbled out, desperate. We were trying to protect the school's reputation. The room exploded in outrage. Marcus stepped forward, his tone cutting through the chaos. And in doing so, you destroyed lives. He turned toward Kelsey and her friends, who sat trembling. You thought cruelty made you powerful. You thought her blindness made her weak. But today, the truth makes you powerless. Kelsey's voice cracked, shrill. This isn't fair. She thinks she's better than us, and everyone always. Her father grabbed her arm. Enough. Not another word. Tears streaked Kelsey's face. For the first time, her arrogance collapsed into fear. The superintendent, who had been silent in the front row, finally stood. Effective immediately, the students involved are suspended pending expulsion hearings. And Principal Bennett, his gaze was ice. Your resignation is expected by the end of the day. Gasps and applause mingled. Bennett's face drained of color. You can't do this. But the superintendent's glare silenced him. Amara sat frozen, her hand gripping her cane. She whispered, almost to herself. They finally heard me. Marcus placed his hand over hers. They couldn't ignore you anymore. Not when the truth shouted louder than their silence. After the assembly, the crowd spilled into the hallways. Parents approached Marcus, shaking his hand, thanking him. Some whispered their own stories of ignored bullying, tears in their eyes. Mrs. Alvarez pulled him aside. You realize this isn't just a school scandal anymore. It's bigger, systemic. This story will travel. Marcus nodded. Good, let it, later. In the quiet of the car, Amara sat beside her father. Dad, she asked softly. Yes, baby girl. Was it worth it? All the noise, the cameras, the fighting. Was it really worth it? Marcus looked at her, his voice steady. When someone tries to take your dignity, silence is surrender. Today, you took it back. That's always worth it. Amara leaned against him, tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. But this time, they weren't tears of fear. That evening, news anchors recounted the story on television. Clips of Marcus's confrontation, the bullies' recorded voices, and Bennett's downfall played on repeat in homes across the city. Families saw the truth. A blind black girl refused to be broken, and her father refused to let her stand alone. And in one darkened bedroom, Kelsey stared at her phone as messages poured in. Monster, you deserve everything coming. Hope you're proud. Her hands shook. For the first time, she felt what Amara had felt every day, the crushing weight of being hunted. Marcus stood on the porch that night, the cool air brushing his face. Amara's laughter drifted faintly from inside the soundlight. Genuine, a sound he hadn't heard in months. He closed his eyes, exhaling. Justice hadn't erased the scars, but it had given his daughter something priceless back, her voice. And Marcus Johnson, Navy SEAL, knew this battle was only the beginning. The morning after the assembly, the halls of Ridgeway High felt different. For the first time in months, Amara didn't feel the sharp sting of whispers trailing behind her. The footsteps that used to crowd and shove her now kept their distance. Her cane tapped against the floor, steady and sure, the sound echoing with quiet power. A few students even spoke softly as she passed. Morning, Amara. You okay? You were brave up there. She nodded politely, her face calm, but inside, she was stunned. They saw her now, really saw her. In history class, Mrs. Green cleared her throat awkwardly. Amara, I owe you an apology. I should have stepped in sooner. Amara tilted her head slightly, her voice steady. You saw it happening and said nothing. Mrs. Green flinched. I was wrong. I was afraid of rocking the system, but you reminded me that silence is just as cruel as action. The class was quiet. Every student listened. Amara's lips trembled for a moment, but she spoke clearly. Then don't be silent for anyone else, ever again. Mrs. Green's eyes glistened. She nodded. Meanwhile, Kelsey and her friends were gone. Their absence hung heavy, lockers emptied, their laughter silenced. Some students whispered that they were transferring schools. Others claimed their parents were furious, grounding them for months. A few simply shrugged, as if erasing them was easier than remembering the cruelty. But Amara remembered. She would always remember, and she hoped they did too. At home that evening, Marcus sat at the kitchen table, polishing his boots, an old habit from years in the Navy. Amara walked in quietly, listening to the rhythmic scrape of the cloth. Dad. He looked up, smiling softly. Hey, baby girl. She pulled out a chair, sitting across from him. Today, it felt different, like the air was lighter. Marcus nodded. That's what justice feels like. Doesn't erase the pain, but it clears the weight off your shoulders. Amara leaned on the table, her expression thoughtful. Do you think they'll ever understand what they did to me? Or will they just hate me more? Marcus set the boot down, meeting her gaze. Some people never change. They'll carry their hate like a chain. But you carry courage. That's the difference. Her throat tightened. You really think I'm courageous? He smiled. Amara, you walked through fire every day. You stood against an entire school with nothing but your voice. That's more courage than most soldiers ever find. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but this time they were warm, not bitter. Later, Marcus received a call from the superintendent. Mr. Johnson, I wanted to inform you that the district is implementing new anti-bullying protocols, mandatory reporting, staff accountability, student advocacy programs. We learned from this. Marcus's response was calm. Good. Make sure those changes stick, because if they don't, I'll be back. And next time, I won't just bring the press. The superintendent swallowed audibly before assuring him it would. Marcus hung up, satisfied. A week later, Mrs. Alvarez's follow-up article appeared. From Silence to Strength. How one student's voice sparked change at Ridgeway High. It wasn't just about Amara anymore. The piece highlighted systemic failures across the district, exposing years of neglect. Other students came forward with their own stories. Parents rallied, demanding reform. The ripple had become a wave. One Saturday morning, Marcus took Amara to the park. The autumn air was crisp, leaves crunching under their feet. Families played on the grass, laughter carrying on the wind. Amara tilted her head, listening to it all. It's funny, she said softly. They thought my blindness made me weak, but maybe it made me stronger. I hear what others ignore. I feel what they hide. Marcus smiled. That's your gift. The world tried to turn it into a curse, but you never let them. Amara's lips curved. Maybe I didn't win because I fought. Maybe I won because I never became like them. Marcus's chest swelled with pride. Exactly. That's what makes justice poetic. The same cruelty they used to break you became the reason they fell. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold, Marcus wrapped an arm around his daughter's shoulders. You know, he said, voice thoughtful, when I was deployed, I learned something important. Battles aren't always about bullets and bombs. Sometimes they're about dignity, about refusing to let someone take away who you are. Amara leaned against him. And this was our battle. Marcus nodded. And we won. That night, Amara stood in front of the mirror in her room, her fingers brushing the edges of her face, her hair, the features she'd never seen but had learned to own. She whispered to herself, I am not broken. I am not less. I am enough. Her voice, soft but firm, carried in the quiet like a promise. Downstairs, Marcus sipped coffee on the porch. The stars spread wide above him. For the first time in a long time, he let his guard down. His daughter was safe, her spirit unbroken, her voice louder than ever. The war wasn't over. The world still carried cruelty and hate. But tonight, victory was theirs. And Marcus Johnson, Navy SEAL, smiled into the night because sometimes the fiercest battles weren't fought on foreign soil. Sometimes they were fought in school hallways. And sometimes, against all odds, justice won.